Do any of you have a friend that just posts too much on Instagram? Yes, John. You. Okay. Hurtful. I mean the person who posts like 47 story posts a day to the point where the lines at the top of the screen begin to look like little dots. Or maybe you have a family member who every time they tell a story, it takes them like 30 minutes to get to the point, and it ain't even that good of a story anyway. We all know or follow someone who is unnecessarily long-winded, which is yet another reason why following Jesus is so refreshing, because most of the time, Jesus was anything but. In the last week of his life, Jesus tells his disciples a story, or a parable, and this story is only 2 sentences long. He says, "Very truly I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds." Short and sweet. From an early age, we learn about this process of a seed being planted or buried in the ground. And Jesus describes this process as a kind of death, but specifically the kind of death that actually brings about new life. A plant pops up where that seed was buried. So when we bury that seed in the soil, it's not the end for that seed. It's actually a new beginning. In his days as a pastor, Rob Bell would say it like this: death is the engine of life. And Jesus isn't just making a point about flowers or trees, but yet again, he is describing this backwards, upside down, counterintuitive nature of the kingdom. Remember, this is a kingdom where whoever wants to save their life will lose it, aka die. This is a God who calls us to give up or die to our own kingdoms or our own way of doing things so that we can be brought into a new kingdom life with him. And in this parable, Jesus was also foreshadowing the kind of death that he was going to die on the cross. And these 2 things, the kingdom and the cross, are not mutually exclusive. Today, all over the world, Christians are celebrating Good Friday, a day to remember the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross. You see, just like that kernel of wheat, Jesus himself was buried in the ground. And just like that kernel of wheat, Jesus' death actually brought about new life. It created a way for us to live the kingdom life with God, both now and forever. Jesus' death was not the end, it was a new beginning. It was a new beginning for him, it was a new beginning for us, and it was a new beginning for the kingdom of God. Maybe this week, in the midst of this pandemic, you feel as though there are some things in your life that are coming to an end. Maybe you saw your senior year or a sports season suddenly come to an end. With stay-at-home orders being put in place, maybe you feel like your safety and security is coming to an end. There are times when it feels like the world itself is ending. Or maybe your endings have nothing to do with this pandemic, but they're still painful. They're still scary. But whatever it is for you, in the face of all of this, maybe you need a reminder today that in the kingdom of God, what looks like an ending is often a new beginning. Jesus' death and resurrection not only offer us forgiveness for our sin, but they offer us a new beginning, a fresh start. In God's kingdom, this pandemic does not have the final word. Social distancing and isolation and fear and anxiety and cancellation does not have the final word. In God's kingdom, not even death has the final word. But through his death and resurrection, Jesus inaugurated a whole new way of living, a way that believes that where there is darkness, light can burst through. Where there is despair, hope can be found. Where there is tragedy, joy is on the horizon. Because 2,000 years ago, when the Roman soldiers thought they were crucifying a criminal, they were actually coronating a king. And King Jesus' death did not end in death, but it was actually the engine of new life that was given to all of humanity, which includes me and you. And this kingdom, this life, it is open and available to each and every person the minute you say yes to Jesus and to following his way for your life. And whether you're ready to do that for the first time, or maybe you feel like you need to make a fresh commitment today, we have a next step practice available for you for download in the description that will help walk you through that. And as you go, my prayer for you is that this Good Friday and this Easter, that you would experience the light, love, joy, peace, hope, and new life of God's kingdom. Keep being awesome.